Palestinian factions are due to meet in Moscow on the 26th of this month. According to the Palestinian Authority, it's unclear if Hamas will be attending. Groups from Syria and neighboring Lebanon have also been included. We can now bring in our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, good afternoon. Why is Moscow trying to do this?
Well, I think that according to Palestinian officials, there are a couple of reasons. The first one is that this has been organised and called by the Deputy Foreign Minister, Mikhail Bogdanov, who's a special envoy to the Middle East. So those factions are coming to Moscow on the 29th of February. That's to include Hamas, the Islamic Jihad, Fatah and the Palestine Liberation Organisation umbrella group, who will all be there. So a broad number, a dozen or so Palestinian factions who will be taking part in these discussions. And I think the aim here is to try to bring them all together, to try to hammer out some kind of an agreement on how a Palestinian leadership should look in the future and how that should shape up once the conflict in Gaza is over. The problem here is that they don't see eye to eye. Both Hamas and the Islamic Jihad basically won't talk to Fatah or to the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. He was recently in Doha. Hamas refused to even meet with him there. The Palestine Liberation Organisation is seen as weak and ineffectual in the West Bank. Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, is also vastly unpopular. Many don't see him as someone who would be a viable partner in peace in the future. So there is a lot of discussion going on about what kind of future setup this could possibly be for the Palestinians. And while they remain split amongst themselves, there is no hope that there's going to be a unified force to take over if and when the war in Gaza finally comes to an end. What they're also talking about is sending in a group of technocrats to run the Gaza Strip, maybe also with a force from other Arab nations drawn up to come in and help keep the peace there once the fight against Hamas is over. But all this is a long-term project. It doesn't seem to have any particular strong motivation right now to move forward. And I think these talks maybe will try to forge some kind of common agreement if everybody turns up to take part in them.
And what sort of progress can we expect to get, given that there are so many divisions within the Palestinians themselves?
Well, that is difficult, and I think it's going to be very hard to find an agreement, especially as Israel is not going to be involved in this at all. The West is also not going to be involved in trying to broker some kind of an agreement. I think what we're seeing here is basically Russia trying to assert its influence as a regional power face to face with the war in Ukraine. It knows that it's going to have to play towards both Hamas and the Islamic Jihad. They are supported by Iran, which is supplying drones to the Russians in its war in Ukraine. So all of this is interlinked as a way of Russia trying to assert its authority, to drive a wedge between the United States and the Palestinians and Israel. Russia, which has fallen out with Israel in recent times, especially since the war in Gaza started. So I don't think you should see this as purely something that the Russians are interested in the goodwill of the Palestinians as a part in that, but it's also putting Russia back on the map as a regional player trying to assert its influence just ahead of a Russian presidential election and just a couple of days after the death of Alexei Navalny. So that is, I think, also part of what is being behind the scenes negotiated in all of this.
It's all about the timing. Thank you very much for that.